Over the years, I've witnessed some extraordinary restorations. Dilapidated buildings that could have been lost forever. Luckily, some romantics do take on the challenge of converting and restoring these forgotten gems. Some of the most incredible builds I've ever seen have been the magical transformation of agricultural and industrial buildings.
Did you ever see anything like it?
Oh my God.
These are palaces of industry, and so it's such a privilege to live in one.
This week, I'm looking back at the best of Restoration Man's industrial buildings and the people with a vision of bringing them back to life.
Well, I think that deserves a cup of tea, don't you?
When you've had the blood, sweat and tears, you will feel it is yours and you've earned it.
Have you ever done a restoration project before?
Lego.
As an architect, I relish the challenge that these unusual buildings give us when we're trying to create a place called home. Some of Britain's outstanding industrial buildings remain derelict because many people feel that the challenge of restoring them is just too big. But luckily, there are people out there whose hearts rule their head. In the Northumbrian village of Rothbury, where the River Coquette narrows and passes through a rocky channel, stands the remains of a picturesque corn mill dating back to 1665. In 2008, Dave and Margaret Headley bought it for £245,000.
Our friends all know we're crazy, full on crazy. No normal people would buy the mill.
Crazy romantics.
The restoration of Thrum Mill was so special, partly because Dave and Margaret never compromised, but also because it gave me a chance to go back to my old stomping ground. With a budget of only £125,000, it was going to be a hell of a slog. But when I first saw the mill, I immediately understood why they fell in love with it. Oh, look at that. What a fantastic building. From the front doors, this is.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Hi, George.
How are you? You must be Margaret. Nice to meet you. How are you?
Yeah, lovely to
well?
meet you too. It's a bit noisy down here,
That's
mate.
incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
You couldn't have picked a more difficult site, could you, really? Not even putting the scaffold up must have been a challenge.
It was. Oh,
Lethal. I'm not even going to ask you why you went for this property.
Sat here all this time. Somebody could have done it, but they didn't. It waited for us.
I think it's not just about owning it. You know, you've got to have your input into it. You know, you've got to have had the blood, sweat and tears. You know, and then when you've had the blood, sweat and tears, you know, you will feel it is yours and you've earned it.
Dave is planning to do most of the work himself. One of his biggest challenges is going to be reinstating the mill wheel. It's a key condition of their planning consent, and Dave also wants to use the wheel to generate hydroelectricity to power their new home.
Hydro is the best option. Might as well get some hydro.
It's a great way of dragging this building back into the 21st century, but also reusing it.
Have a look at the mill, which obviously needs quite a bit of work done.
The millstones take up most of the far end of the ground floor. Again, it's part of their planning permission that all of the original mill machinery must be left in place. My God, you've got your work cut out.
Yeah. Up to the bedrooms.
Up to the bedrooms?
Yeah.
I love the way you're saying it as if it's all finished. I love that. So this is the bedrooms.
All it takes is a little imagination in my bed.
The mill is built over 3 floors, anchored into the bedrock of the river. The lower floor will become their kitchen, incorporating the mill machinery, which will be operational. The new staircase runs up to the ground floor, which has direct access out to the country lane. This will be their living room, complete with feature millstones. Another flight of stairs takes us up to the top floor, which will be divided into 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I absolutely love everything. about this project. It's the most beautiful building and the most beautiful location. The restoration of Thrum Mill is in its 4th month, but progress has been slow. Today, Dave's got the boys together to start relaying the floor in what will be their kitchen, and he's asked me to lend a hand.
Nah, that is a heavy bit of stone, that. And I picked the heaviest one first. You're gonna have a hernia.
I think that's the thickest one.
You definitely stitched us.
Yeah, good on you, George.
See, most architects just sit in the office all day. Pretty little sketches, few doodles. Not the northern lads, straight into it.
Dave and his team have now repaired all of the old stone walls and roof. But while all this work was going on, Dave's wife Margaret, who already suffers from arthritis, fell ill with pneumonia.
Poor Dave got a bit of a fright.
I'm not surprised, I bet you did, Red.
Yeah, I did.
What happened exactly?
I don't know, I was busy putting the roof on.
And then?
And we've got this strange little text come to the hospital now. And then we got taken into a side room and told she was in intensive care, so.
Intensive care?
And I just panicked thinking, what happens then, you know? Sometimes you don't come back out of it, which the doctors even thought I wasn't going to.
Now that Margaret's health is improving, Dave's focus is back on the build. To restore the mill to its former glory, Dave is determined to reinstate its centrepiece. To get it as accurate as possible, Dave's been using old photographs to understand exactly what the wheel looked like. But he's using modern technology to achieve it. It'll cost him £12,000 just to make the steel out of frame.
Is this it?
This is
coming
it.
together already? That's fantastic, that.
Yeah, it's coming together quick.
The nice thing about this stuff is because it's been made in all these individual bits, means you could actually assemble it on site in sections, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could.
And the way this has been cut, it's like 21st century laser technology, slicing through steel like a knife through butter.
Back at the build, Dave is pushing himself to breaking point to make up for lost time.
He doesn't know the meaning of the word rest.
No chance.
At all, does
No.
he?
But you can't stop yourself. Has he not told you he's broke his rib?
He broke his
had a
ribs?
broken rib, yeah. He's tackled the windows, he's been doing all sorts of ridiculous things that he shouldn't have been doing. It's only a week ago since he'd done it. There's a tiny bit of us thinks, oh, drat, Dave's hurt himself. How long's that going to push me mill back?
After 5 years of planning, the missing piece of Thrum Mill is finally being delivered to site.
It's absolutely months and months and months in the planning, so it all boils down to now.
Today's really important because we've waited so long. I mean, a water mill isn't a water mill without a water wheel.
The wheel just completely defines the whole project. And it's finally going to look like it used to look 100 years ago.
It's been a year since I was last at the mill, and I'm back to see if Dave and Margaret have completed their ultimate challenge. From the seemingly hopeless mess I saw on my first visit, the ground floor is now fully transformed, with 3 millstones embedded into the floor, and the rotating mechanism takes centre stage.
Well, George, this is it.
And it is
Welcome
looking
to our lovely home.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
What a
Like
great
it?
space.
Yeah.
Look at this. Spinning around in your front room.
Fall asleep.
I know, I could.
Yeah.
Margaret has lifted the spirit of Thrum Mill, styling their new home in a sensitive and traditional way. Upstairs, what was once a derelict space is now fully lime-washed. The new bedrooms and en-suites have been beautifully designed using glass in the rafters, allowing natural light into each room.
To be able to lie here and look up and see all these beautiful timbers over your head. Spatially, it just makes it 1,000 times more interesting.
But of course, what I'm most keen to see is the return of the water wheel to its former glory.
It's the original hubs, the original shaft, that was what was there for over 100 years. It's been a hard slog, but it is a beauty.
Can we get it going?
Yeah.
Come on,
Come
I'm
on,
like a
then.
kid in a sweet shop.
Come on.
Off we go.
Huge woman. Like, there she goes, look.
There you are, she's away.
There she's off, look at that. Look at that. That is fantastic.
Made me cry the first time I seen it, George.
The power. You know, the power of the natural forces of that river to drive the engineering and the architecture at that pace. I mean, the amount of energy you'll get from that would be brilliant.
The river powers the wheel at an average pace of 10 revolutions a minute. At this rate, the 32 paddles can comfortably produce 8 kilowatts of energy per hour. That's enough electricity to run 15 houses.
You built that, and that. It's like... Dave and Margaret are a brilliant team. Dave is the relentless grafter who, no matter what the bill throws at him, he never ever gives up. And Margaret has that magic touch to create a really sensitive period home. Now, they regard themselves as being the lucky ones, having the opportunity to save this building. But actually, it's the building that's lucky, having such incredible guardians. This is one of the best projects I've ever seen. Why? Because it's a restoration without compromise. Taking on any restoration project takes real guts. In many ways, it's a step into the unknown. But when people do it with no experience whatsoever, that verges on madness.
In 2012, I went to the village of Wellington, deep in Herefordshire's farming community, where Marco and Kath Walker had spent their life savings of £150,000 on 2 ancient but derelict barns.
We've never restored a building before. We've done up a 2-bedroom flat. Well, I say done up, we painted it.
It was the way that these dreamers stumbled into this massively ambitious build that made it one of my favourite restorations. Morning. You must be Marco and Kath. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Are you well? Look at you nestled in there. How are you?
Nice
Hi,
to meet
Kath.
you.
Nice to meet you. How are you? You well?
I'm good.
Nice to see you. How are you, Marco?
Hello,
How are
mate.
you?
Nice to meet
You seem to have more gaps and fresh air than you have timber and building.
I know, I don't
Is that
think we can
fair?
move in tomorrow.
No. Is it listed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
Grade 2.
God, that's grade 2 listed.
Yeah.
And it's fallen into that level of disrepair.
But I think that's why we're allowed to take it down, basically.
You
well-
mean completely?
Yes. Only this barn here.
And they've
yeah.
asked us to keep as much of the original oak as possible.
Have you ever done a restoration project before?
No, not at all.
Have you done a building project before?
Lego.
This 17th century oak barn sits alongside an 18th century brick barn. But together both barns present a massive challenge, especially as Marco and Kath have arranged a self-build mortgage that will only be released in pre-agreed stages.
This is
This is it.
Home sweet home. Look at that! This is way better than the other side.
Yeah.
Loads better. I feel much better about it now. This is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
really...
this is lovely.
So it just needs a lick of paint, really.
This project is a tale of two halves, with the oak barn needing a total rebuild and the brick barn having to undergo a slow restoration process. It's going to be tight, and they've got to do it all within their £300,000 mortgage. Downstairs in the brick barn, there'll be a hallway, games room and a guest bedroom with ensuite bathroom. The oak barn contains an open-plan kitchen, living area and utility room. Upstairs, they've designed 4 bedrooms with 3 ensuite bathrooms. There's also a large gallery landing and a study.
It never fails to amaze me, the scale and the ambition of restoration projects that people take on. Margot and Kath have bought something that is virtually a wreck. But what worries me more, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, is they genuinely haven't got a clue what they're doing.
Under the terms of the planning, the old timber barn needs to be carefully taken down.
Today is definitely the biggest day so far. This has been up for 300 years and it's not going to be here anymore.
Each piece of timber will be examined to find out if it can be reused.
Just thought then the whole thing was going to come down like a pack of cards.
With the oak barn now dismantled, winter takes hold on site. Luckily for Marco, the restoration of the oak frame is being done undercover.
I love these places.
Yeah.
So this is where the old has been adapted into the new.
Oh my gosh.
You really are maximising the beauty of the historical parts of the building. No, you've got the old marks there. This is what the joiner would have marked on there to recognise each individual piece. So look at that, I can even put that away, but still...
No, don't do it too much.
But still, at the heart of that piece of timber, it's incredibly strong. Is this it? Is this your new frame?
Oh.
Look at that.
Look at that.
It's amazing, isn't it?
That is huge. That's really nice.
That's your future house, mate. It's like lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Look at
really,
that
really
timber.
nice.
This A-frame of new oak will form part of their south wall on the barn. The entire frame for the new build is a massive part of the project's £300,000 budget. 3 months later, Marco and Kath's brave investment in the new frame has paid off as the carpenters assemble the main structure.
Yeah, that's the old gate pin made by a blacksmith, look. Folded over on the forge, look. Back to his original place.
Finally starting to look like a house. So we've got all that glass there, all the sunlight coming in through there into our bedroom. That's going to be absolutely peachy, that is.
Because this is such a new experience for Marco and Kath, I've brought them to an 18th century barn in Oxfordshire. I want to show them how successful a restoration project can be.
Feast your eyes on this. Look at that. What a space, eh?
God, that's gorgeous. Look at this.
To make this even more open plan, if they wanted to, watch this.
No.
It moves.
My God.
That's incredible.
How mad is that? It's brilliant, isn't it?
That's amazing.
As first-time restorers, Marco and Kath need as much inspiration as they can get, as every mistake can prove costly.
It's actually woken us up a bit because we're plodding along while the structure's going up. We're not actually thinking about the detail of it all, you know, where the light switches are going, where the plugs are going, and, you know, this is really helping a huge amount.
It's spring, and the perfect weather for roofing. The old tiles have been removed from the brick barn to find out what damage lies beneath. Tim Block, the structural engineer, isn't impressed.
Some are rotten and damaged, and that damage you can see there is all where the roof has failed at some stage. Just gradual drip, 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 drip over the decades, even perhaps 20, 30 years.
Marco and Kath will have to pay for steel supports which they hadn't budgeted for. It's going to cause problems with their funding as the bank refuses to release any more money until both barns are watertight. With no money to pay the builders, Marco has resorted to working on site himself. They've hit the classic self-built stalemate. They can't finish the stage without money, and they can't get any money until the stage of work is finished.
How's money going kind of generally in terms of the budget?
I would say at the end we're probably going to be about 3 to 5% over.
I think you feel quite positive about it, but I don't, because I just don't see how
Well, I'm just
on
determined
earth
to
it
do
can be
it.
done.
I mean, I'll do whatever I need to do. I'll paint as much as all day and all night. You know,
yeah, and
that's,
we'll both do that.
you know,
I'm
and as long
thinking
as
about
you've
the
got
bigger
that
picture,
kind of
really.
mindset, you can try your best. And if you fail, so what? At least you've tried.
Yeah.
It's been 3 months since I last visited, and the good news is that the bank have finally released funding from Marco and Kat's mortgage. I've come back to see what they've managed to complete on this ambitious project.
Morning! How are you?
Welcome.
So good to see you.
Thank
you well?
you.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Can I come and have a look?
Absolutely,
Oh,
yeah.
the way.
Please come in.
Oh, looks great.
Amazing.
Really
And the
pleased.
timber frame is just stunning. I mean, now that you've got it all painted white,
It stands out.
it really brings it out, doesn't it? I've been waiting a long time for this, as have you, but it's been worth waiting for. That is amazing.
The 17th century cow barn has been lovingly restored piece by piece, with the sympathy that I would never have expected from such restoration novices.
What you've done brilliantly is you've designed it as a series of very clear zones.
Going to that barn in Oxfordshire, that really, really helped. That confirmed how we'd want our kitchen layout to be.
Upstairs is a triumph that they've reclaimed this building in a beautiful and dignified way.
It's a sign of a good building when you just go over and want to kind of touch bits of it all the time. You think, God, just how lovely that is and how tactile that is. And the history behind all of this is magical.
Yeah.
You know?
They finished both the girls' bedrooms, and the study sits elegantly on the upstairs landing. There's a family bathroom, and finally their master bedroom, complete with double-height windows making up the giant gable end of the oak barn.
Oh, that's probably the lightest, brightest bedroom I've ever been in.
It's really bright.
Look at that, it's flooded with light. Doesn't get any better than this.
No.
Honestly, it doesn't.
Marco and Kath are an inspiration for anyone thinking of taking on their first ever restoration project. With such limited experience and a difficult budget, what they've achieved is nothing short of extraordinary.
What a restoration project, what a brave couple, and what a beautiful home. Most of the time, it's the transformation of a building back to its former glory that makes a project so memorable. But sometimes, it's the unique characters and the way that they go about a build that makes a restoration so special.
Up in mid-Argyll, on the remote and spectacular northwest coast of Scotland, former Royal Navy engineer Laird Henderson bought an abandoned icehouse for just £6,000. It was built in 1833 for the local fishermen to store the ice they needed to keep their catch fresh. Laird had a vision of turning this into his home.
The maverick way that Laird went about the build and what he managed to achieve makes the icehouse a project I will never, ever forget. Not least because it was one of my first ever restorations. Morning. You must be Laird.
Hello.
Laird, I'm George. How are you?
Hi, George. How you
Good,
doing?
this is it.
Met you at last.
You're
Nice
in
to
the most
see you.
fantastic location here, aren't you? I can't believe it.
Dressed for work or are you exploring?
Well, you know, bit of both. It looks like something like the Lord of the Rings burrowed into the landscape,
Hobbiton,
doesn't it? It is, it's Hobbit land. Let's go and have a look inside, come on.
Still a wee bit damp, but it's
amazing.
gives you a good idea of what we're letting ourselves in for.
God, it is a cave.
It is.
Laird has a fixed budget of £100,000 to complete the renovation of this two-chamber building. On the ground floor, the smaller chamber will become a small kitchen diner. The main chamber will be a larger open-plan double-height living area with a small toilet. A curving staircase will lead up to a mezzanine floor with a glazed bathroom. The bedroom will occupy the entire small chamber. Laird plans to cut a doorway through the 3-foot thick wall by the south gable window, so that the upstairs will connect to a glass extension he plans to build on the stone loading platform. With nowhere else to live, and to save money on his very tight budget, Laird has got permission from his local council to temporarily live on site in a caravan.
Caravan life, eh?
Yeah.
Laird, this is like unbelievable.
It's lovely.
I mean, look at that.
If you don't mind the exposure and your companion doesn't mind the exposure,
No,
then...
but what's well, who's going to see you here? You're in the middle of bloody nowhere.
It's temporary. I mean, it's only got to last me another year or two till I'm in the ice house, but it's lovely.
It's bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
The first task on this project is to remove the massive 15 tons of earth sitting on top of the roof, so that it can waterproof the bare rock.
Lou Peter style.
Yeah. Right, you ready, B?
Laird's come up with an ingenious idea to save his and his girlfriend Bettina's backs.
Look at this. Medieval building technology, this is. It's medieval, mate.
It works. Sweet as a nut.
So we're stripping all this back.
Yep.
Then you're going to have to waterproof the whole roof.
Tank it completely.
Tank
In
it.
several layers. I mean, it's belt and braces.
Then put the turf back on top.
And then turf back on top.
Originally, this thick insulating layer of turf ensured the precious ice inside stayed frozen for as long as possible. But now, Laird's problem is getting enough heat into the ice house to make it warm enough to live in. There's some clever 21st century technology which will warm this stone fridge, making it cosy in Scottish winters. Heated glass.
You think of car windscreens.
Yeah.
For years and years and years and years, and you get those horrible little lines on your car windscreen. Well, now the technology is that good that the film, the heated film that they put onto the glass is completely clear and transparent. You can't see it.
Wow.
I've designed heated glass in houses before where you've never needed any underfloor heating, you've never needed any internal radiators at all, and just the heat output from the glass back into the space is enough to heat the space.
At £40,000, this high-tech frameless design is more than Laird had budgeted for. It's going to be a tough decision, but I think it will be just what the building needs.
And the way it works is you've got basically a copper strip around the perimeter edge of each sheet of glass. Yep. The electricity heats up that copper strip. The copper strip then heats up the invisible coating. The heat is going through the metal oxide on the face of the glass and heating it up. But the end elevation of glass, which is the gable, the glass sitting here on the gable, across that entire length would give you more heat than you would ever need. The big decision is, are we going to go for a frameless heated system, or are we going to go for a cheaper aluminium frame system? You can only spend it once. I think probably the frameless.
Yes.
Ingenious as ever, Laird has come up with a novel way to cut a doorway through the thick stone wall between the main building and the area where he plans to build the heated glass extension.
Basically, an amazing rod that's got oxygen and everything being blown through it, and it gets to such a high temperature, it burns through the stone. So there's no cutting, there's no grinding, it's just a burning process. Unbelievable. Even look in there, look. Look at that. It's melting the rocks. Brilliant. That's it, yeah? Look at this. Look. This is molten rock.
Oh. Are we through?
Yeah. Just gone through that like a knife through butter. Bloody brilliant.
Well, I think that deserves a cup of tea, don't you? Now we've reached daylight.
You look like a bloody lunatic.
Oh, you should see how I feel.
But there's trouble in paradise. The council is not impressed with Laird's make-it-up-as-you-go attitude. They want to know exactly what he's planning to do if he wants permission to continue with the build.
By law,
Yeah.
you aren't supposed to do any building work unless you've got that permit.
So they say. What can they do at the end of the day? Lock me up if I don't pay the fine. They've got a good library inside, I believe.
This is a real tricky one, to be honest, because building control have got a job to do. They have to control that build and to make sure everything's being done properly. Someone somewhere has got to compromise.
The standoff with his local building control officer has forced Laird to take the initiative and go straight to the top of the tree.
I've had a cracking result with the head of building control. He's given me quite a lot of guidance on the paperwork front and things like that, and Bettina's obviously been quite helpful with the admin work. So yeah, the ball's rolling again, thankfully.
Laird's desperate to get the glass structure erected before the harsh Scottish winter, but now it's arriving in freezing conditions.
Brilliant.
But the last few metres is a bit of a challenge. And to make matters worse, here comes the snow. They're in for a miserable build. 6 months later, and I can't wait to see the results of Laird's passion and single-minded vision.
Look at that. Look. Look at that. Did you ever see anything like it?
Oh my God.
Isn't that exquisite?
Oh my God.
Simple but absolutely gorgeous.
This stunning piece of architecture has brought light, space and heat to Laird's 19th century stone fridge. In fact, it's more like a modern glass sculpture than a traditional extension, in the seamless way it relates the stone of the ice house to the natural landscape surrounding it.
Laird, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's quite believable. It's standing there in all its glory.
Laird, the way that you can just look through the minimal glass structure and see kind of nature beyond and the trees and all the reflections of the landscape.
It's lovely, isn't it?
It just captures the nature of what we wanted this building to do.
It's amazing how hard it is to actually create simplicity. Welcome to a different world.
Oh my
God. Watch this. Look at this.
Completely quiet.
Isn't that astounding?
It's quite rare that I'm lost for words.
I would say so. Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful, Laird. I just love the way you've got these glass panels on the floor.
It's nice, isn't it?
It looks stunningly beautiful.
This sculpting of glass around sheer rock is typical of Laird's attitude of bringing nature and the building together.
The fact that this glass just drops into that rock and you just carved into it and let it be, I think it's just beautiful.
For me, it shows the way forward about what restoration should be about in the 21st century. So all done, Laird? Finished?
Oh, wrapped up tight, matey. As you can see.
Not quite.
Although Laird hasn't finished, his maverick style has been truly inspirational. I know he'll complete it, but in his own time.
Cheers. An amazing restoration project.
Oh, thank you.
So I'll come back in 2.5 years' time and it'll all be finished, yeah?
Don't rush.
Being true to the original character of an old building is what makes a restoration great. And when people are determined to get it right, no matter what the sacrifice or cost, the results can be breathtaking.
Near the River Lee that divides the counties of Hertfordshire and Essex are the remains of what used to be a majestic Victorian water pumping station. In 2012, it was bought by two designers, Ali and Matt Gray, for £750,000. With a tight budget of only £60,000, they have ambitions of turning it into a 4-bedroom family home. I love the scale and grandeur of Victorian industrial buildings, and I'm keen to see how our designer couple plan to convert their large spaces, as they're always an architectural challenge.
Well, you've bought yourself a fantastic building. I mean, it's sad that someone's ruined parts of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who on earth would put UPVC windows in a
don't know
building like this? They are awful, aren't they?
We're keeping them.
You better not be keeping them. You better not be bloody keeping them. Should we go inside and have a look?
Please.
Oh, look at that. What a fantastic space. God, it's like being inside a church. I love the height and those fantastic timbers above, which are really beautiful.
Unlike the functional utility buildings of today, the Victorians built theirs with pride. Temples to progress, built in iron, steel and glass. Even this rural building, designed to house a water pump for nearby villages, was beautifully built. 12 full-height classic arched windows dominate the main room, and with their plans to put in a second floor, these will present the biggest challenge in carving up the space.
I suppose the main point is, how do you subdivide these windows? Because you're going to have the first floor cutting across them. It's the classic design problem that you have with churches, barns, buildings like this, where you've got big, tall windows, and you're having to functionally divide the space in sections to make it work.
Ali and Matt plan to solve this problem by designing a floor that is built back from the windows. Now the big challenge is the design of the replacement window frames.
So the windows are a big decision, really, aren't they? Do you know which direction you want to go in? Are you going to be modern or traditional? What are you going to do?
We're still a bit torn. I mean, we're definitely erring on the side of period windows.
I think we'd also be very open to the idea of just a sheet of glass.
For now at least, they can get on with reclaiming 2 giant stones, which used to anchor the steam pumping engines, which they plan to cut up into floor tiles.
And they must be like 2 tons each.
Yeah, can't throw it away.
I love that. Reusing, recycling, little pieces of history into other parts of the building.
This is York stone, known for its durability, but this wire sawmill will get it cut in minutes. Once the stone has been cut to the required thickness, the sheets are ready to be expertly broken off, so that they can be cut into tiles.
You ready? Whoa! No, I'm worried I'm going to break the top bit now.
This recycled stone will provide all the tiles Ali and Matt need for their bathrooms.
Perfect, that. There you go, mate. There's your first floor tile.
Isn't that amazing?
124 years that's been sitting there in the building. It's beautiful.
The other materials that make this building unique are the very bricks it's built with. Ali and Matt want to leave them exposed inside, which means a massive clean-up job is required. This sandblasting is finally bringing the colour of the bricks back to their former glory. To finish off, the brickies are using a Victorian method called tuck pointing to show off the red-coloured bricks, which make the walls look more refined. With some of the blockwork now constructed, they can begin to fit joist hangers to fix the first floor in place. With the build progressing at speed, the couple have yet to make a decision on the design of the new windows. And head builder Dave's patience is being tested.
A lot of artistic people have got no common sense. You know, you look at Van Gogh cuts his ear off and something, you think, Christ, you know, what sort of people are you dealing with here? Like, imagine doing a job for him, like, you know.
With both Ali and Matt struggling to decide what kind of windows to go for, I've decided to bring them here. The Hampton Waterworks in southwest London. It was built in a similar style to our pumping station just 2 years before.
Oh, so pretty.
There's no doubt in my mind at all that we have to do the building justice by having some element of tradition in it.
For Ali and Matt as designers, it's all about the look. Steel frames are twice the cost of wood, but they're thinner and will be more elegant.
You just have really beautiful windows and bugger all else in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Nothing.
And a much bigger mortgage.
Ali and Matt have taken 2 weeks off work to help with the build. For Matt, it's a busman's holiday. Although they've now decided on steel window frames, he can't stop himself tinkering with their design.
If you give a designer something to do, they will never finish it. You work up to the deadline all the time, and without a deadline, you just keep on going.
That's massively wrong. It's not going quick enough. You didn't send him drawings over for the windows?
I didn't.
Okay. If I start chasing you now and I'm too...
Please,
just
you just tell us what we need to do.
They're designers, but not in the construction industry. Aesthetically, they know what they want, but how you achieve that is another thing. A bit like most of the architects today.
After more than 6 months of deliberation, Ali and Matt have finally decided to go with a modern steel frame design. I've come to see what they'll look like.
Well, I think after literally going around the houses and the pumping stations and seeing as many options as you possibly can to do windows, I think this is probably the best option for you.
The window decision has taken up so much time and effort.
So this is looking good? Yeah. Your windows are out?
And with so much more work still to do, I'm worried about their budget.
This is your bedroom. How much money you've actually got in the bank?
We've got 25 left in the bank at the moment. That'll take us to the end of the month.
Really? OK, so you're remortgaging?
We're remortgaging to the tune of another 50k.
Personally, I never worry about spending money, I worry about wasting money. And I don't think we're wasting a penny here. And from that point of view, I feel comfortable about what we're doing.
4 weeks later, and after months of agonising over the design, the new windows finally arrive.
The windows are the big deal, really. When they go in today, that will be, you know, champagne time, really.
But even before their new expensive windows can be fitted, there's a problem with the steel frames.
It's a tricky one. So I don't know what we're going to do with this, but it needs some sort of trim.
Ali and Matt have gone to huge expense of repairing the bricks on the inside, but the bricks on the outside are so damaged that the frames won't fit in the carefully measured openings.
So we need to get more brickwork done, more time, more money, quite a lot more money probably. So, but that's the way it goes.
I'm back to find out how they finally resolved the problem and to see if they've finished this fabulous Victorian building.
So lovely to see you.
Morning.
New windows.
I know,
They're in.
Beautiful. I can't believe they're ours.
All the thought that's gone into that one element, but it was probably the most important one, isn't it? I think it looks lovely. Absolutely perfect. The right colour, right proportion, and the right look for this building.
Thank you very much.
What used to be a giant space where the industrial machinery once sat is now a stylish kitchen diner, which combines the traditional Victorian brickwork with clean modern finishes.
To me, that really looks like a really elegant way of restoring a building like this.
You know, the new windows are beautiful, highly engineered, along with, you know, the stone mullions, the stone sill, the beautiful detailing of the brickwork, the pointing, which I think is a really lovely thing anyway. Yeah. Alongside a new white internal skin. That is about dragging a building into the 21st century, but really respecting the qualities that it has. Look at that. Very simple. And it's really nice that the whole panel goes out as well.
Yeah.
And the same stone we delicately cut into thin tiles has been cleverly used in the luxurious downstairs bathroom. Today the kids finally get the chance to see their brand new bedrooms.
What do you think?
I don't think I've seen someone so happy.
This one is your new bed.
But Ali and Matt have saved the best till last.
Oh, it's incredible. When you're doing a restoration project, there's lots of simple things you need to do to get it right. And you've ticked the box of all the right things. You've kept the ceiling height, so it feels like it's a lofty and it's an airy space. You've got wonderful top light with the skylights that you've got in here. You've made all the period features literally shine out and sing.
In the end, what made this restoration was Ali and Matt's attention to detail. Months of agonising on the most important design features have really paid off.
These extraordinary industrial buildings attract extraordinary people. Yes, it's about imagination, determination and sheer hard work. But above all else, it's about passion. These are difficult buildings to restore, but in the end, it's worth it.
And there'll be another Best Build next Wednesday night at 8. Diseased bananas, jellied eels, and what makes whiskey taste that way, food unwrapped, Monday night at 8. Next tonight on 4, with starvation looming, a fishing expedition goes badly wrong on the men's island.